After a wild night at the full moon party on Koh Phangan, my mate Greg and I were riding the high of what had already been the trip of a lifetime. But as the sun started rising over the beach and our heads started clearing, we realised something. We weren't ready for it to end. We had just 24 hours before we needed to catch a bus back to Bangkok airport. And there was one island on our list we hadn't ticked off yet: Koh Tao. In a completely impulsive decision, we booked ferry tickets that morning, packed our bags, and somehow made it onto the boat, still buzzing from the night before. At $15 a pop, we rented scooters as soon as we arrived at Mae Had Pier around 4 p.m. The mission? See as much of this beautiful Thai island as possible in just 24 hours. After dropping our bags at a cheap bungalow we booked just 30 minutes prior, we didn't waste any time. With just an hour of sunlight left, we jumped on our scooters and set off for Mango Bay. Bad idea? Probably, but we were running on adrenaline and the kind of confidence only travel and too much Red Bull can give you. So the ride started easy enough, weaving through palm trees and catching glimpses of the ocean. But as we neared the bay, the road turned into this steep dirt mess full of scooter-swallowing washouts. We were sliding around, dodging potholes big enough to camp in, and at some points, we honestly thought we'd have to abandon the scooters and walk back to get them in the morning. When the road came to an end, deep in the jungle, we'd have to continue the journey by foot. As the sun gave its last rays with only the sound of crickets and the rustle of leaves in the wind, we began trekking down the stairs, unknown of what we were about to encounter. An abandoned resort clinging to the mountainside. The place was eerie, like something out of a horror film. The trails forked around every turn, with only little paint markings to guide you through the maze. Beyond the crumbling cabins, we couldn't have imagined what we'd see. The water was cool, crystal clear, and completely still. There was only one other traveller in sight, and it felt like we had the entire bay to ourselves. We jumped in, washing off the sweat and exhaustion, floating in silence. It was absolutely magic. But we knew what was coming next. The race against darkness. We underestimated the sunset, big time. As we began climbing back up the nearly 400 steps, the sky had already darkened into a deep blue. We fired up our phone torches, trying to light the steps ahead and recall the right path to the scooters. Navigating the treacherous and steep dirt road in the dark felt like a video game on hard mode. Every bump felt like it might send us flying, but somehow we made it out without a scratch. What a sigh of relief it was to reach the paved road. Back at the bungalow, we changed into clean clothes and decided to find food and a well-earned beer. We stumbled upon this little street food cart run by the friendliest Thai guy we'd met all trip. It was late, but he whipped us up these chicken burgers that were hands down the best I've ever tasted. Juicy, spicy, and cooked right in front of us whilst we chatted and laughed about what an epic trip it had been. We polished off a couple more beers, walking through the streets of Koh Tao late into the night, and finally crashed around 1 a.m, exhausted but buzzing with excitement for one last day of adventure. We woke up surprisingly early, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to squeeze every last drop out of our final 6 hours on Koh Tao. First stop, Shark Bay. It was cool, but not quite the vibe we were after. We wanted something special for our last hurrah. Without knowing what we were about to discover, we rode across the island to Alternate Beach, parked the scooters, and walked down the short path to the bay. There it was, everything we were hoping for. White sand, clear water, rocks to jump off, and schools of colourful fish just waiting for us to snorkel alongside them. The beach wasn't crowded, food at the bar was mouthwatering, and the cocktails, let's just say they hit the spot. We spent a couple hours swimming and climbing on the rocks, and soaking in every last moment. As we rode our scooters back to the pier, salty, sunburnt, and grinning from ear to ear, we knew we'd pushed it to the limit. Koh Tao was the perfect last-minute adventure to finish our 3 weeks exploring Thailand. And yeah, we could have missed our flight, but it was so worth the risk. If you enjoyed this story, it would mean a great deal to me if you liked the video and subscribe to my channel to support me in making more videos like this in the future. Thanks.